I didn't think it was a great game, but I think it's something that it was a game that England probably needed. When you play in tournaments, you've got to find a way to win. And I think England did that a bit last night. Austria weren't a bad side, but there was a lot of fouls. I don't know if you've seen it, Ali, last night.
I watched the
highlights. There was a lot of fouls. I thought Pickford answered a lot. Look, when Jonathan Pickford gets pelters, he should get credit when he has a good game. I thought he had a good game last night. Made a couple of good saves. Grealish was excellent. I thought he was really, really good. At the time that he's had off, it's just give him that little boost that probably England need to give him a bit of freshness, ready for this big tournament. And if there's anybody at this minute in time going to stand out, hopefully the way Grealish played last night, give Foden a couple of weeks to get his body back after a hard Champions League, and then I think exciting things from a couple of young players.
Ali, what about Ali Trent? How bad is this one? Is it a pulled thigh muscle?
It looks as though it might be, actually. Obviously, they're saying them. I watched the interview with Gareth after the game, and it's very difficult to assess until they send him to the hospital or whatever it be for his scans. But it didn't look good, and you could tell his body language was horrendous when he came off as well, as if he knew. But listen, see the game itself. See if we'd been sitting here in England and won 5-0 and everything in the garden was rosy, would have been saying, it's only a friendly. You're going to get these problems with these friendlies before tournaments, guys. We've seen it 100 times. Thought England, from what I saw, I watched the Scotland game, but from what I saw in the highlights, I thought England started the game pretty well, and then Austria came into it and probably could have hit the woodwork, certainly off the crossbar.
Hanging on in the end.
Yeah, it looked the one off the line. It looked a little bit as if they were hanging on. But no, last night it was what it was. The same way I wouldn't be getting carried away, with Scotland's good performance and good result against the Netherlands. I wouldn't be getting too disappointed by England 1-0.
So Ali, what's the latest with Scotland? I spoke to a couple of journalists yesterday because my paperback's out, so I've done a few interviews, and they're telling me about the COVID problem.
Well, Flecky was out because he's got COVID-19, and there was another half dozen of the boys, I think, had to self-isolate, because I think they were in his vicinity and all that kind of stuff. So it was a kind of makeshift lineup, but they did well, actually. They did well. I think what they're trying to do, I was saying last night that wee Flecky's self-isolating in his room, and they're trying to get him a fitness bike in his room and all that stuff. It must be a nightmare for him. It really is. But they did all right, Scotland. Henry scored a good goal, Depay, and then Nisbet came on, got his goal immediately, and then some now. The referee gave them a free kick. Honestly, it was a shocking decision. It really was. I mean, if it was a serious game, you'd have been livid. He gave them a free kick for a foul, which was never a foul on Depay, and he stuck it in the net in I think about the 89th, 90th minute. But no, they knocked the ball out well. Scotland did okay, and I watched a little bit of the French highlights as well. They got a man sent off. Started the game well. Daniel James looked lively, and they had one or two chances, but overall France just looked a little bit of as we all know, a class side that will be, I would imagine, a lot of people's favourites for the tournament.
Yeah, well, Grealish, for me, everyone was telling me he was the star man. Let's hear how it sounded last night live on talkSPORT.
Playing it the outside of the right boot, fashions the ball for Kane. Grealish has continued his run and will get in here. It's flick wide, Saka from a turn angle gives England the lead. England 1, Austria 0. Bukayo Saka's first goal for his country. Alexander-Arnold is over on that far side, who's hopefully got nothing worse than just a little spot of cramp that's being attended to now.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be, he's just getting to his feet now, which is good, but he doesn't seem to be sort of stretching off a cramp situation over there.
But he's just indicated actually over on that far side with the circling of the fingers and the hands that he's coming off. That is a concern for England. And that is the end of the game, and England have literally limped over the line. But England left hanging on at the end there against a side outside the top 20 in the world rankings. And they will know they're going to have to play better than that on a consistent basis if they're going to get anywhere in the tournament at all. It's a mix and match side, and they've beaten Austria by a goal to nil.
Interesting. Henderson's still not declared fit, is he?
He was on the bench, but he didn't come on. Which you listened to some of the pundits after the game last night. They were this would concern me. And I would be
Phillips
the
as
same.
well. I'm hearing he's not 100%.
Yeah, he came on though. My worry, and I know you just watched the highlights, Ali, were the two centre halves, especially with Maguire missing. I thought the two centre halves weren't. What am I going to say? Poor, but I didn't think they were up to the standard that an international centre halves would be, and that would concern me as an England fan. With Maguire likely to miss a lot of the build up, if not the early part of the tournament.
Yeah. I must admit, Hamid, I felt for, was it Godfrey nearly the OG?
Yeah, right at the end.
He had a kind of reckless pass back. Oh, you want to see it?
He's a bit casual for me.
Pickford does well, actually. Pickford does well, gets him out of hole. But listen, guys, friendlies before tournaments, we know what they're like. I wouldn't get too carried away with them.
Yeah, you got Mings for me. I'm the same. I look at you're talking about Godfrey a bit lackadaisical. I think Mings is as well, and he got caught again.
Yeah.
There was a foul, and he just looks as though it's he's always just trying to get there. He's not one step ahead. You look at possibly someone like John Stones, who's quite a good reader of the game. Mings not quite the same. Yeah, Cody's a centre properly, like I think he's an old-fashioned centre half. But when you come up against the big players and the big guns and the big boys, that's when tournaments, that defines your tournament. And little mistakes like Mings made last night, I think against a France or a Holland or an Italy, Spain, they'll punish you. That's what I
think Mings is good when it's fast and furious and he's in that box heading balls away.
Yeah.
But when you get time to think, and it's international football for me is a lot slower build up, and then it fizzles in the last.
But if you don't concentrate, especially as a defender, you just got half a second, and he's in, and a top striker will punish you. He won't make the mistakes the Austrian strikers made last night.
I've got to say to you boys, as I say, I watched the highlights of the France-Wales game, and it's just a different level of finishing. I mean, actually, Wales looked as though they did okay in possession of the ball, had one or two chances. But Mbappe scored, Griezmann is a brilliant finish, and then Dembele scores. Which just backs up what you've been saying. At the top level, at that level, these guys were sure. And how Benzema never scored on his return was unbelievable. He missed a penalty, hit the post. So you're absolutely right. At that level, whether it's England or Spain, or any team, these boys absolutely punish you.
Breakfast with Alan Brazil. Thursday and Friday morning, 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.